Imagine waking up on a beautiful California morning in 2026. You've spent the last 40 years building a life in your home. You raised your children here, you know your neighbors, and every creak in the floorboards tells a story. This house is more than just an asset. It is your sanctuary, your retirement plan, and your legacy. You grab your car keys off the hook by the door, ready to head to the grocery store, just like you have thousands of times before. But then you remember the letter you received from the DMV last week. The new laws have kicked in. The mandatory road test for drivers your age is no longer a suggestion, it is a requirement. And if you don't pass, those keys are useless. Now imagine walking back to your kitchen table and seeing another letter. It is your property tax bill. The number at the bottom of the page has jumped again. You are living on a fixed income, and the cost of staying in the home you own free and clear is rising faster than your Social Security checks. You feel the walls closing in. On one side, your ability to move freely is being restricted by new safety regulations. On the other side, the financial burden of your home is becoming a threat to your survival. You are caught in a pincer movement that you didn't see coming, and nobody seems to be talking about how these two forces are about to collide. Welcome back to Senior Security Update. I am your host, Zane. Today, we are investigating a perfect storm that is brewing for seniors in the Golden State. We are looking at a convergence of two massive policy shifts that seem unrelated on the surface, but are actually deeply intertwined. The tightening of driver's license regulations for older adults and the radical new proposals for property tax relief. We call this the senior squeeze. It is a phenomenon that could fundamentally change what it means to age in California, transforming the dream of aging in place into a logistical and financial nightmare for millions. In this comprehensive report, we are going to dissect this situation layer by layer. We will start by defining the senior squeeze and why it matters to you, regardless of whether you are 65 or 85. We will look at the stick, the strict new driving rules that could take your keys away. We will examine the carrot, the tax breaks designed to help you, including a controversial new ballot measure that could eliminate property taxes entirely for some seniors. And most critically, we will connect the dots to show you how losing your license could accidentally disqualify you from the financial relief you desperately need. This is the hidden trap in the bureaucracy that no one is warning you about. To understand the gravity of this situation, we have to look at the concept of the pincer movement. In military strategy, a pincer movement is when two forces attack from different directions to trap an enemy in the middle. In this case, the two forces are government policies. On the left flank, you have the Department of Motor Vehicles and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, pushing for stricter rules to ensure road safety as the population ages. On the right flank, you have the Tax Assessor's Office and state legislators, pushing for financial policies to keep seniors housed. The problem is that these two agencies exist in silos. They don't talk to each other, they don't coordinate. And you, the senior citizen, are standing right in the middle where their policies collide. The irony here is palpable. Both sets of policies are theoretically designed to help you. The driving rules are meant to keep you safe from accidents. The tax rules are meant to keep you safe from foreclosure. But because they were written in isolation, they are creating unintended consequences that could force you out of your home just as effectively as a foreclosure notice. We are seeing the early warning signs of a bureaucratic deadlock, where the loss of mobility triggers a loss of financial stability. Let's start with the stick, the new era of driving restrictions. For decades, the conversation around older drivers has been a delicate balance between public safety and individual freedom. Driving is not just about transportation. In a sprawling state like California, it is the primary lifeline to the outside world. It is how you get to the doctor, how you get groceries, how you socialize. Taking away the keys is often the first step toward isolation and decline. However, the data on traffic accidents involving drivers over 80 is prompting a regulatory crackdown. Starting in 2026, we are seeing the rollout of a tiered system for license renewals that is far stricter than anything we have seen before. The federal guidelines, which California is adopting aggressively, break seniors down into specific age brackets with escalating requirements. If you are between the ages of 70 and 79, the changes are relatively mild but significant. You will now face mandatory vision screening at every renewal, along with a reaction time test. This isn't just reading letters on a chart, it involves peripheral vision testing and cognitive processing speed assessments. The goal is to catch early signs of decline, like glaucoma or slowing reflexes, before they result in an accident. For most healthy seniors, this is a hurdle, but a clearable one. The real shift happens when you enter the 80 to 86 age bracket. Here, the convenience of modern life is stripped away. You can no longer renew your license by mail or online. You must appear in person at the DMV. Think about the logistics of that. You have to secure an appointment, which can take months. You have to get to the DMV, which might require driving on freeways you are already uncomfortable with, or finding a ride. You have to stand in line, often for hours. This physical requirement alone acts as a filter, discouraging many seniors from maintaining their license simply due to the hassle. But the most drastic change, the nuclear option, kicks in at age 87. From this point forward, the state is treating your license as a probationary privilege. You will face an annual mandatory road test. Every single year, you have to get in a car with a stranger, a DMV evaluator, and prove you can still merge onto a highway, parallel park, and react to sudden hazards. In addition to the road test, you will need a signed medical clearance from your doctor and a vision test every year. This is a massive burden. It turns your birthday into a source of anxiety. It means your ability to drive is constantly on the chopping block. Now, regulators realize that this all-or-nothing approach is harsh, so they have introduced the concept of the limited license, or graduated license. This is a compromise. If you can't pass the full road test because your night vision is poor or your highway reaction time is slow, the DMV might issue you a restricted license. This license might say you can only drive from sunrise to sunset. It might ban you from driving on freeways. It might restrict you to surface streets within a 5 or 10-mile radius of your home. The idea is to keep you mobile enough to get to the pharmacy and the grocery store while keeping you off the high-speed interstates. It sounds reasonable on paper, but in practice, it creates a new class of driver. If your doctor is 12 miles away, you can't drive there. If your grandchildren live 3 towns over, you can't visit. Your world shrinks to the size of your zip code. And if you are caught driving outside those restrictions, the penalties are severe, including the permanent revocation of your license and massive insurance hikes. It is worth noting that not every state agrees with this philosophy. Illinois, for example, is moving in the opposite direction. They are actually removing the mandatory road test for drivers aged 79 to 86, arguing that it is discriminatory and statistically ineffective. Instead, they are relying on a reporting system where family members, doctors, or law enforcement can flag an unsafe driver for review. This shifts the burden from the state to the community. California, however, is sticking to the rigorous testing model, betting that strict enforcement is the only way to lower accident rates. Now let's pivot to the carrot, the financial relief designed to keep you in your home. California has some of the highest property values in the nation, which means it has some of the highest property taxes. For a senior on a fixed income, a tax bill that goes up every year is terrifying. It is an expense you cannot cut back on like groceries or cable TV. If you don't pay, the county takes your house. Currently, the biggest shield seniors have is Proposition 19. This law, passed recently, was a game changer for homeowners over 55. It allows you to sell your current home and buy a new one anywhere in California, and crucially, take your current property tax assessment with you. Here is why that matters. Let's say you bought your house in 1990 for $200,000. Under Proposition 13, your taxes are based on that original value, plus small annual increases. You might be paying $3,000 a year in taxes. Today, that house is worth $1.5 million. If you sold it and bought a smaller condo for $800,000 without Prop 19, your new taxes would be based on the $800,000 price, jumping to maybe $9,000 or $10,000 a year. That tripling of your tax bill would make moving impossible. Prop 19, lets you keep that $3,000 tax bill on your new home. This mobility is vital. It allows seniors to downsize from big, empty houses with stairs they can't climb into accessible single-story homes or condos in safer neighborhoods. It frees up housing stock for young families while protecting seniors from tax shock. In Los Angeles County alone, seniors using this protection are saving an average of $13,000 a year. That is the difference between poverty and comfort. But there is something even bigger on the horizon. A radical new initiative called the 60-plus property tax exemption has cleared the hurdles to gather signatures for the 2026 ballot. This proposal is stunning in its ambition. It doesn't just lower taxes, it proposes eliminating the base property tax entirely for eligible seniors. The argument from proponents like Rishi Kumar is moral as much as it is economic. They argue that taxing a senior's home is essentially renting it from the government. If a senior runs out of money and can't pay the tax, they are evicted. Proponents say that the cost to society of a homeless senior in healthcare, shelter, and services is far higher than the revenue lost by forgiving the tax. They want to make the home a true sanctuary, immune from the tax collector. The eligibility rules for this proposal are strict. You or your spouse must be 60 or older. You must use the home as your primary residence. No vacation homes or rentals. You must have lived in the home for at least 5 years or have been a California resident for 10 years. And importantly, it only exempts the ad valorem tax, the base 1% tax. It does not exempt you from voter-approved bond measures for schools or local special assessments. You would still have to pay those. However, there is a massive flip side to this coin. The state's nonpartisan Legislative Analyst's Office has crunched the numbers, and they are staggering. They estimate that if this measure passes, it could drain between $12 billion and $20 billion annually from local governments and schools. That is a hole the size of the entire budget of some states. Critics warn that this would devastate the very services seniors rely on. Who pays for the paramedics who come when you call 911? Property taxes. Who pays for the libraries, the senior centers, the pothole repairs, and the local fire department? Property taxes. If you exempt millions of seniors from paying, the burden shifts massively to younger homeowners and businesses, or services get cut to the bone. It creates a generational conflict. Do we protect the financial security of the old at the expense of the education of the young? Now, we arrive at the convergence point, the trap. This is where the driving rules and the tax rules collide in a way that almost nobody has noticed. We have to look at the bureaucratic machinery that actually processes these tax exemptions. It is not magic. It requires paperwork. To see this in action, let's look at a specific example, Measure E in Los Angeles County. This is a parcel tax to fund the fire department. It costs about 6 cents per square foot of improvements. For a standard house, it might be $150 a year. But the measure includes a senior exemption for low-income seniors. To get it, you have to apply. The application form asks for standard things: proof of ownership, proof of income, and proof of age and residency. And here is the catch. What is the primary document listed on the form to prove your age and residence? A valid California driver's license. It is the gold standard of ID. It is what the clerks at the tax office are trained to look for. Now play out the scenario. You are 87 years old. You go to the DMV for your mandatory road test. You are nervous. Your reaction time is a split second too slow on a merge. The evaluator fails you. They take your license. You are now grounded. Your car sits in the driveway. Because you can't drive, you have to pay for grocery delivery. You have to pay for Uber or specialized transit to get to the doctor. Your expenses skyrocket just as your mobility crashes. Desperate to save money, you remember the senior tax exemptions. You sit down to fill out the forms to save that $150 on Measure E, or maybe thousands on other exemptions. You get to the line that says, "Attach copy of valid driver's license." You don't have one. The state just took it. Technically, you can use a state ID card, but do you have one? Did you think to apply for one the day you lost your license? Probably not. You were too busy dealing with the emotional trauma of losing your independence. To get a state ID, you have to go back to the DMV, the place you now dread. You have to stand in line again. You have to bring your birth certificate and proof of residency again. This creates a friction point. The system designed to ensure safety, taking your license, creates a barrier to financial relief, proving your identity. For a senior dealing with cognitive decline or mobility issues, that extra bureaucratic step can be the difference between filing the form and giving up. We see this all the time. Eligible seniors missing out on thousands of dollars in benefits simply because the paperwork is too hard or they lack the specific ID required. This is the senior squeeze. The stick beats you down and the carrot is held just out of reach by red tape. So, where does this leave us? What is the path forward? We are facing a collision between two fundamental goals of our society: safety and dignity. We want our roads to be safe from impaired drivers, but we want our seniors to live with financial dignity in their own homes. Looking ahead to 2026, California and the rest of the nation must address three critical challenges to resolve this squeeze. First is administrative integration. The silos must be broken down. The DMV and the tax assessor's office need to share data. If a senior surrenders their license due to age, the system should automatically trigger the issuance of a state ID card. It should be seamless. Losing your driving privileges should not mean losing your identity in the eyes of the state. Better yet, the tax office should automatically accept the surrendered license record as proof of age for exemptions. We need smart bureaucracy that understands the user journey of an aging resident. Second is fiscal resilience. The proposal to eliminate property taxes for seniors is politically popular but fiscally dangerous. We need to find a middle ground. Perhaps we expand the tax deferral programs, where seniors don't pay taxes now, but the taxes are paid out of the home's equity when it is eventually sold or inherited. This keeps the senior secure today without bankrupting the schools tomorrow. It treats the home equity as a savings account to fund the senior's own services. Third, and most importantly, is transit innovation. The root cause of the stick hurting so much is that our society is built around the car. If losing your license wasn't a catastrophe, the strict testing wouldn't be so controversial. We need to invest in micro-transit, not big buses that run once an hour, but on-demand shuttles, subsidized rideshare programs for seniors, and volunteer driver networks. We need to build communities where a grocery store and a clinic are accessible by a golf cart or a short walk. The long-term fix isn't better paperwork, it's better urban planning. This brings us to the final question that will define the future of aging in America. Can we deliver safety, solvency, and freedom all at once? Safety means removing unsafe drivers from the road with compassion and precision, not with blunt force. It means acknowledging that a 90-year-old with slow reflexes is a danger, but treating that revocation as a medical transition, not a punishment. Solvency means protecting our schools and fire departments from financial collapse. It means recognizing that tax breaks have a cost, and that we cannot simply erode the tax base indefinitely without consequences for the quality of life of the entire community. Freedom means ensuring that a senior citizen is not a prisoner in their own home. It means that the loss of a car keys does not lead to the loss of the home deed. It means that the golden years are actually golden, not a struggle for survival against a pincer movement of regulations. The senior squeeze is not inevitable. It is a policy choice. We can choose to align these systems. We can choose to make the transition away from driving easier. We can choose to structure tax relief so it is accessible to those who need it most, regardless of whether they have a driver's license in their wallet. But until we make those choices, you need to be prepared. If you are approaching that 80-year mark, or if you have parents who are, start planning now. Get the state ID card before you need it. Look into the tax deferral programs. Explore the transit options in your neighborhood. Do not wait for the letter from the DMV or the tax assessor to arrive. By then, the squeeze has already begun. This is Zane for Senior Security Update. Our mission is to help you navigate these complex systems so you can live with security and peace of mind. We will keep tracking these ballot measures and driving laws as they evolve. Stay informed, stay proactive, and stay safe. I will see you in the next update.